What is up, my ninjas? I am Strident, and I am back with another toy review. This time it is the Walmart exclusives Avengers movie series Hawkeye. It has a long-ass title. Anyway, I'd been waiting for this figure for a while, and then strange thing happened. I walked into a Walmart after I finished doing my adult responsibilities, which is paying bills pretty much, and I saw them rearranging the toy section. They kind of moved it, and I walked over to the superhero area, the aisle with all the action figures, and I saw one Cap, one Iron Man, one Thor, and one Hawkeye. Now, I had been seeing Hawkeye online going for prices upwards of 50 and above. So when I saw this for 10 bucks, I picked him up, or 14 bucks, something like that. I picked him up, giggled like a maniac, and left. Then the next week, or maybe it was like a few days later, maybe 2 days later, 3 days later, I went to a Walmart on the other side of town, and they had the entire line. Now, Strident, why are you telling us this? You might be thinking to yourselves. And it's mainly because I know that as collectors, we see cool figures and we're like, holy shit. You know, there's some collectors on here who have deals with companies, or they happen to be in a place where the figures hit first. And, we see those reviews and we're like, shit, I gotta have them. I gotta have them. I first saw most of these movie figures in a review by Advocate Pinoy. He's not one of my favorite reviewers. I do like his photography. He's got some awesome photography. Some of his reviews kind of, it makes me cringe when he rips the heads off of the figures. So for that reason, I can't really, but you might like him. Check him out if you get a chance. But anyway, I saw his review, and he had them like a month before they even were dropped. If I'm not mistaken, it could have even been a month before the movie came out, or possibly, a little bit before the movie came out. But I hadn't even seen them anywhere, not even online at like ToysRUs.com, or I'm sorry, Walmart.com, because these are Walmart exclusives, duh. But anyway, I'm just saying that, we get all amped up because we see them, and we want to get them now. And, you see the prices online, and these scalpers, man, they are really penetrating folks. I mean, they're straight bending you over and giving you that dry dack, and it's kind of not cool. And, to some degree, if you have to have something, you have to have it. So you get it and you're cool. But, on another, level, you should be a little bit more discriminatory about what you spend money on, and, how much you spend it on. Because as collectors, we have to watch out for scalpers. So, be patient. Every single retail offered figure that was an exclusive that I wanted, I managed to get, because I waited and then I saw it somewhere. Or, there's like a handful of figures that I still want that I haven't managed to get, but, they're mostly every single exclusive retail offered figure that I wanted, I waited a little bit, and then I saw it at one point or another. So even the rare figures, the figures you see online that are rare, like freaking Moneybags, Destro, and stuff like that, if you walk around and just check places, I'm a brick and mortar collector. I like going to the store to collect. So, just be careful. You might find them that way. Anyway, to the review. This figure is on point. It surpasses the Marvel Select figure in many ways. I think every way except for maybe paint. And, if you know me, I like Marvel Selects, but I'm also a big fan of the Ultimates. I talk about the Ultimates every time we talk about comics. And I love the fact that they took their cues in this design from the Ultimates. This way you get Ultimate Hawkeye in, your movie form, and then we get him in figure form, and it's killing two birds with one stone. And if you didn't know, they ripped all the design elements from the Hawkeye in the film from Ultimate Hawkeye. And I love that because, like I said, I'm a big fan of Ultimates, and I feel like he's one of those characters who he's been too gaudy for a while. I didn't like his costume back in the day. I remember when I didn't know anything about Hawkeye, I always thought he was a rip-off Captain America, like a bootleg Captain America, or inspired character, and it just didn't make sense. But I dig the fact that they're taking their cues directly from Ultimates. It works. And there's a lot of other things they took from Ultimates too. They took the Chitauri. That was the first enemy that the Ultimates fought. Um, they took much of the interaction between Black Widow and Hawkeye from Ultimates, and I dig that. Um, what else? Thor's costume, aspects of his costume, like him not having sleeves, and some of the things that he did, you know, that's cool too. Overall, though, because normal Thor doesn't have sleeves either, but overall, they took the good things from Ultimates. I kind of wish they took more, but whatever. But they took Hawkeye from Ultimates, and that's awesome. So you're getting Jeremy Renner looking like he stepped right out of Mission Impossible 4 with his shades on, which isn't bad. Um, it cracked me up because I kept trying to go through the movie to remember where it was he was wearing the shades that the toy's wearing. But, I couldn't find it. Personally, I would keep him without the shades because, dude's got amazing eyesight. That's why he doesn't miss. So, whatever. This is my personal preference. I'm not saying they did something wrong. It works. Posability, you get all the dynamics that you see with Hawkeye. The dude's agile. He's very mobile. You can get him from whatever angles, and the figure looks good. He has different articulation than Green Arrow, although there's one thing I wish he had that Green Arrow has. His outstretched arm, actually all the joints on the figure are really soft, so they warp under any kind of stress. So if he had a single jointed hand that holds his bow like Green Arrow, and then maybe a double jointed elbow on the arrow holding hand, it would have been awesome because at least you'd have stability if you kept the string. But I cut that off. I was like, fuck that. So anyway, like I said, everything else, that's probably one of the only things that doesn't work with this figure. But he has a lot of joints, lots of posability. He out Marvel Legends the Marvel Legends, if that makes sense. He out Marvel Legends the Marvel Legends. There's so much detail in this figure. There are details in the figure that are not movie accurate, but they help enhance the design of the figure. It's just a ton of little things that they did right that I'm surprised to see, because you expect this on your Marvel Legends and not so much on your Movie Masters figures or your movie series figures. They actually seem a little bit better than the Movie Masters figures, and I'm kind of happy about that. Because I've been let down by those Movie Master figures because they kept giving us the same fucking characters over and over. As far as the arrow goes, that is an arrow from a 12-inch figure of mine. I'm a collector. I got a lot of different types of stuff. So sometimes you have to repurpose things so that you can, have the full effect or get the full effect with a figure that might be missing something. The bow is sculpted really well. All the sculpting detail is just immaculate on this figure. You can't really complain. I don't know. I was impressed with it. I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad they were able to put the majority of the details on there. He is missing the sight, the laser sight that was on there. But besides that, everything else is there. His posability, like I said before, it's hard to find things that he can't do. And the things he can't do seem kind of out of character for his character anyway, so you wouldn't even put him in those poses. But he comes with the quiver, the bow, and the strap for his quiver. You gotta forgive my enthusiasm, because this is like the 5th time I've done this video. Something kept happening to always screw it up for me. But the quiver, the strap, and the bow. Where the fuck are the arrows? That was the first thing I saw when I got the figure. I'm like, no arrows? And I saw it in other reviews. I thought maybe somebody had just left them out or something like that. But yeah, they didn't put arrows in there. I know there's safety issues, but anyway, the quiver looks like the movie quiver. No arrows. The bow, it came sculpted with a string. I cut the string off because, like I said, if you put stress on the arm that holds the bow, or any of the joints, they warp. The costume has really immaculate details. I mean, all through it, from his feet all the way to his head. It's just ridiculous amounts of detail. And a lot of the detail is exaggerated, you know what I mean? Like, there are things that show up in the film that they kind of added detail to here, or that they omitted on the toy. You know, those boots look amazing. The all the buckles and stuff on his pants, the straps, everything looks, you know, it looks the part. It's really awesome. It's really well done. Um, it's mostly up in his armor on his chest, you know, or on his upper body, where you can see that they added, excuse me, like waffling or weave to his like a weaved look or a, you know, a textured look to his armor, and most of that is not actually there. Um, the wrist guard, it's black in the movie, and it has little slots. I don't know what's in them, maybe knives or something. I don't know, but here they kept it silver. It looks just like a standard wrist guard. It's nice, very simple. Um, you can see they kept his muscle tone very close to what Jeremy Renner's muscle tone was like, and I don't know, they did a good job with that. The detail doesn't stop as you move towards the back. They continue with the detail as you get to the back. Um, you can see the peg hole for where his quiver goes. Um, and yeah, it tripped me out that, you know, even though I said when I saw this, it's Ultimate Hawkeye, he fits in perfectly with my Ultimates. And I was geeked about that. And, you know, hopefully when I find an Ultimate Thor, I'll continue with this Ultimates theme because I have this little section in my Marvel Legends shelf that is all Ultimates. And that's kind of what I've mixed my Avengers team with. But he fits. Pretty much every pose that you've seen him take in the film, any pose that you think an archer would take, he can pretty much take. And that's awesome because this is the whole point. The figure needs to have a form that follows the function. You know, Hawkeye is a bit of a martial artist. He fights alongside Mockingbird, and being that he is such a Green Arrow ripoff, that they had to give him the girlfriend who's an expert martial artist and everything, they got to make him able to hold his own as well. So, and I know there's going to be people getting mad at me, but this is a fact. Green Lantern's like 10 plus years older than Hawkeye, and a lot of what he is today was already established. Um, but you can pretty much make him do, you know, more combative, you know, in-depth poses and make him take, you know, poses that look like moves that a real fighter would use. And you know, this was probably one of the things I was missing in the film is the more Bourne-esque kind of fighting. I mean, these guys need to be close quarters masters, and instead you got like an idea of it, but you didn't quite get the whole, you know, shtick. But you can do that with him. You know, if you figure out a way to put him in a situation where he looks the part, you can do that. And this is one of those situations, and I really dig that. Um, Here he is fighting Vega. I figured both of them are agile. Let's do a little quick choreography and, you know, have them stand off. And I mean, he looks cool. I mean, he just looks like he is about to put an arrow in Vega's face. And he should look like that because this is his job. That is his skill set. So he better look right, holding his arrows, you know, poised to pop somebody because that's what he does. Um, Now, I noticed in a number of reviews, people were having issues with how he holds his bow, like where the grip goes and where the notch goes. Um, One guy said, you know, he mentioned the notch and the grip, and then he had it upside down. Instead of having the grip, him holding the grip you know, like a gun, and having the arrow above the grip, he had the arrow completely flipped around, where he was holding the grip up top, and the notch was below him. The notch should be above. It's like holding a gun, and the uh, arrow should be like your hammer. It should be sitting up top. This is still directly from the movie. This is the way it's supposed to be. You can see the buttons glowing through his fingers. That's where he, you know, presses the different buttons that put the different arrows, the different heads on the different arrows, and that's the way it works. Um, I don't know why this was missed. You know, there are also issues with Hulk's pants, and I'm like, yeah, the movie shows you what color those pants are, and some of the figures are wrong, but whatever, you know, to each their own, I guess. But I love the fact that he looks like he's actually doing things correctly. That's one of those things that I dig about a lot of newer figures. Now, another piece that helps him do this is the joints in his wrist. He has one wrist joint that, well, he has the swivel, and then he has the joint that allows for vertical up and down action, because he's got to hold the arrow straight vertically, and then, you know, only tilt forward or back slightly. It's necessary, otherwise he's not going to look like he knows what he's doing, you know. On the other hand, you can hold inward towards himself, can only move up and down if you position it right and put the arrows in the right place, and it should. And this, coupled with the double jointed elbows, allows for his arms to get really close to his face. Here's another, you know, detail of it. It's the same concept of many of the new GI Joes. The Pursuit of Cobra and 30th Anniversary, they have the one joint for you hold the gun, you point it where you want to point it, and the other hand cups the bottom of the gun. And in this case, you reverse that. The pointer hand holds the bow, the cupping hand holds the arrows. So you have up and down motion on the arrow hand, in and out, or horizontal up and down with the you know, the hand holding the bow. And it works. Form follows function after all. And here is someone taking perfect advantage of that. And you got this guy looking like a pro. I mean, it's very simple. It's like almost like holding a gun. You got to hold your guns properly, and you got to be able to do so. I mean, who holds their guns busted? um, but in this case, they didn't do that. You know, they made sure that the figure actually is holding his weapons the right way. And like I compared it to holding a gun, you know, and it looks the part. It looks right. Pretty much this guy, once you got him in the right pose, which is that pose right there, this is probably one of the better archer figures. Toy Biz was good at this. If you looked at the old Lord of the Rings figures, they did a good job with this too, because there were plenty of archers. So overall, this is one of those figures that you can't pass up. You can't have your Avengers team and not have Hawkeye on it, you know? And, you know, he was awesome in the movie. If you like the movie, if you like Ultimates, if you just like the Avengers, if you like Jeremy Renner, whatever, if you like Hasbro, pick the figure up. It's worth it. And if you're patient, you can find him right now in your local Walmarts. And I don't know if it depends on where you are. I'm in the Midwest, so I'm assuming that they're going to be at just about most Midwest Walmarts, because this is how it was for the G.I. Joes. You know, when G.I. Joe Retaliation stuff hit, people told me they were in the Midwest, and I checked, and that's where they were. Anyway, I'm Strident. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Peace outside, folks.